What's up, guys? So today we're talking about the Civivi Drifter 2, which is a very cool little front flipping liner lock. A very traditional little clip point slip joint style knife. And this one being the Drifter 2, you would think there'd be a Drifter, and there is. Now, I've never had the original Drifter, but that is a slip joint version of this knife. And besides, not having a lock, that one was also a little bit different with the flipper. If I zoom in here, you can see this is definitely a front flipper, whereas the original Drifter had more of like, at least from pictures, like I said, I didn't have one, but it had a flipper that was more towards here. It wasn't really like a traditional back flipper. It's definitely not poking out the back. It's more like extended. In other words, this was smooth with the top of the bolster, and then it would peak up over here a little bit. All right, so obviously if you had one, you know what I'm talking about. But the design is just a little bit different. Now, the original Drifter, which is a slip joint, to the Drifter 2, they range anywhere from like 83 bucks to 120 bucks, just depends on which version you get. But there are some really, really cool ones. So this being the front flipper, it has been really fun, really fun to carry and use. I think it's a good looking knife as well, with these very specific snakeskin micarta scales, all right, in brown. And this one has separate bolsters here, which are carbon fiber. Kind of cool. Just different. So before I get into the knife itself, just want to show you what it came with. I don't always keep the box, but when I do, I like to show it off so you guys know what to expect as far as packaging. All right, Civivi has their little case here, which is nice. All right, open it up. We have a nice pad. I actually use these for my glasses. Of course, your paperwork here. Says, love your new knife, share your experience, let the world know. Your support does help us make your support does help us to make better products and services. Okay, so there's a little tidbit in there. And then we have a cool Civivi sticker. So it's kind of interesting that instead of having like a Civivi logo, they're actually sending you like a silhouette of, I think this is the Elementum. I could be wrong there, but I believe that's one of their other popular models. I've had a couple of them. You'd think I know the names by now. I'm going to go with that Elementum, but of course you can correct me if I'm wrong. All right, so back to the knife here. Yeah, so quick specs. We have a 2.9-inch blade that is comprised of CPM S35 VN steel, which is pretty awesome. So the original Drifter, just the one that's called the Drifter, has a CPM S35 VN. Obviously, if you don't have the Damascus blade, that's just Damascus. But it is just cool to know that you can get into S35 VN for 83 bucks. All right, that is a heck of a deal. Anything under 100 bucks is fantastic for that particular steel. You can see we have a heavy clip point on here, very traditional knife design. A little bit of belly, mostly a flat edge. All right, and then we have a very acute point, which is fantastic for piercing into boxes and stuff. You do see there is a nail nick on here. So besides let me actually back this out a little bit. Besides the front flipping action, which is really easy to do, all right? So if you're kind of new to the front flippers, sometimes it can be a little bit tricky. Just using the thumb here, just putting it literally on the side of my thumb, all right? There is jimping on there. You're just going to push, towards the knife and then just slide back. Push towards, slide back. All right, one fluid motion, it's going to flip open. All right, so you just want to continue your thumb out of the way so it doesn't stop. And that's it. You kind of get the hang of it. At first, it might be a little bit different. You might be used to, using thumb studs or even regular flippers and stuff, but it just becomes second nature. But if you don't want to flick it open really fast, or if that seems like an awkward position to you, because of that nail nick, one-handed, it's very easy to just use your thumb, push sideways. It grabs that shelf that's there. All right, you can open it slowly, one-handed. All right, you can use both fingers if that's a little easier for you, but the detent on here, even though it's not going to accidentally shake loose, it's really easy to overcome. All right, so you just open that nice and slow if need be. Or most people, you use that front flipper there with the thumb. So things I don't like, because I really do like this knife. The only thing I don't like, I don't think the pocket clip kind of goes with this knife. Maybe a black pocket clip. As far as the design, I also like having just these little slash marks. I don't know, it just doesn't seem like it belongs. It seems like it's a separate entity. Of course, you could take the pocket clip off if you want. I did carry and use this one, and the pocket clip does carry totally fine. Here's a better look at that. You can see it is deep concealed carry, all right? right side tip up. It is not swappable to the other side here. And while we're back here, you can also see the cutout in the back of the knife here for a lanyard. All right, so the spacer has a cutout as well as both scales and the liner. All right, so I never use a lanyard on here, but there's an option if you want to throw a lanyard on there. But yeah, the pocket clip, I mean, it works totally fine. It's just, and it doesn't get in the way either. Like when this knife is open, I don't really feel the pocket clip in my grip. So it's not an issue as far as comfort or usability at all. It's literally just aesthetics. I think it's a really cool, you know, the brown and the black here. It just looks really nice. It meshes really well. And then you flip it over and it's just, you know, like a bead blasted clip. If this was black, it would be totally fine. It probably wouldn't even stand out to me, but that's literally, it's just aesthetics. That's all. It works totally fine. Just something I definitely don't prefer. Now, besides the pocket clip just not looking great on this knife, in my opinion, the only other issue really is not that big of a deal, but when I have a 4-finger grip, all right, because this handle is just curved, it's heavily curved towards the base here as opposed to up here, right? So very, very slight, and it kind of gets a little steeper. So if I try to get a 4-finger grip, you can see my fingers just barely fit there. So it feels fine like this, but as I squeeze in, I just get a little bit of pinching of the fingers. It's just common for any kind of like banana-shaped handle, any slight curvature. If the handle is not long enough, that's what ends up happening when I squeeze hard. It's really very slight. It's not even that noticeable, but I did just happen to notice when, you know, cutting with this, I tend to put this down here. So if I squeeze my hand a little bit, you can see how my thumb creates like a shelf. That's basically where I keep this knife. It squeezes in, so my fingers aren't being squeezed together. So to give you more of an example of what I'm talking about, take it out of the pocket and actually open it. And when I go to use it, you can see it's back here as opposed to up here. I automatically cant it all the way back here so that when I grip, I can squeeze hard and still be very comfortable. All right, so it's not a big deal. It's just something that I took notice of when I was using this knife. It's more specifically because it's a medium to smaller size knife. Of course, that's always preference, what you think a big, large, medium, or small knife could be. And it also depends on your hand size. But to me, this is more like in the medium size. I wouldn't really say it's small. Of course, compared to some knives, it's very small. Just something I happen to notice. It's not really even a big negative. I guess the only takeaway from that is that if you happen to have like huge hands, you might find yourself doing the same thing where you're just doing different types of grips on this because your fingers, you're definitely not going to get a 4-finger grip. All right, if you have bigger, chunkier hands, okay? If you have smaller hands or maybe even thinner fingers, you might feel that it's totally comfortable to get a 4-finger grip. But anyway, besides that, I haven't had any issues with the knife. I mean, it's fantastic. There's no blade play at all. All right, it's nice and smooth to open. All right, closes very nicely as well. It's easy to get that front flipper down. Again, once you get just a little bit of practice, it can be super comfortable to use that. Overall, I really do like the knife. I mean, getting CPM S35VN for around $100. Again, just depends on exactly which version you get. It's all there. You're getting your money's worth with this one. Personally, I would take the pocket clip off and just use this. Whether you're having the slip joint or the liner lock version, I would just have it, as if it was a slip joint. You can put it in a little slippy pouch, a little leather pouch, or keep it in an organizer, or keep it in the 5th pocket of your jeans, or just have it loose in the pocket. This definitely has the fidget factor. Having the front flipper, I did find myself taking this out and just kind of flipping back and forth when I was bored, doing stuff. It's super fun. But again, you don't have to even use that flipper if you just want to open it slowly as to not scare people in public. I don't know, maybe you're in a grocery store and there's a string in your shirt and you want to cut your string off or something. Who knows? But you can open that nice and slow. It's very easy to open and close. It is nice and smooth, but you can fidget with it, which is super fun. So yeah, and obviously that would be the liner lock version. I'm not, again, can't speak to the first Drifter model that's a slip joint. And I have to imagine that the flipper on top might not work as a flipper. I don't really know the tension that's on that particular one. I don't know if that's just so that you could, slowly push it back to open it, as if I was using this all the way to the back. So there it is, the Drifter 2. Super, super fun. If you happen to have a Drifter 1, let me know what you think of it. Thinking about it now, I was talking about how the flipper is a different shape, but because that one's a slip joint, maybe it's not a flipper at all. Maybe you just literally are rolling backwards in order to open it one-handed like that. Like, you don't necessarily have to flip this out. If I were to push this down, it obviously starts the blade, and then just roll it all the way back until the open position. I suppose you could do that too, but I don't know why you would. You would either use the side, or you just flick it open like we all want to do. But if you happen to have the first Drifter, the Civivi Drifter, let me know down in the comment sections if that could actually flip out or not. Kind of curious. But the Drifter 2, it's A-okay in my book. I really like it. I think it's kind of cool mix of new and old. It is a traditional, little clip point pocket knife style, but obviously integrating the liner lock in here, having a pocket clip on there so you can easily carry this in your pocket or bag or something, and that front flipper. It's just kind of a nice addition. But yeah, I mean, it's very nicely made. You can see there is a skeletonized liner in here as well. All right, that just reduces the weight a little bit. I don't know the weight offhand on this one. If I had to guess, it's got to be in the 2.5 ounce range, something like that. But you could barely notice it in the pocket, especially compared to a lot of different knives. But yeah, there you go. The Civivi Drifter 2. Of course, you have the original Drifter or the Drifter 2. Post your thoughts and comments down in the comment section. I'd love to hear your opinions on it as well. But I think it's a very good performing knife. Again, speaking to the Blade S35VN, if you don't have any experience with it, it stays sharp very, very long. I happen to use a ton of knives, so I kind of take it for granted, some of the premium steels, but it really is an amazing steel. I mean, when you get these things, they are razor blades out of the pocket. Let me see real quick. I grabbed a piece of paper here, just to give you guys an example of this. I mean, this is a used blade. All right, this thing is ridiculously sharp. The CPM S35VN is just awesome. It really is just an awesome steel. And like I said, I mean, I have so many different knives with higher end steels. I tend to forget, for people out there who are used to $10, $15, $20 knives, you just don't get this performance with your knife. So anyway, if you are someone who's jumping from, $10, $20 knives, and you're getting something like this, that CPM S35VN is nothing like you've ever experienced before. It can literally take a sharper edge and it'll hold that edge very long. Obviously, you want to avoid cutting really, really hard things. I mean, zip ties. If you're doing food preparation for some reason, try to stay away from cutting into bones. The harder your blade is and it holds a really, really good long edge, means it's possible that it's going to chip out if you hit something that's very, very hard like that. If you're zipping through big cardboard boxes and you hit like one of those copper staples or something, something like that could just mess up your edge a little bit. As opposed to a cheaper, softer steel where it might just kind of bend over. In this case with the hard steels, it could chip instead, which is a little bit hard to fix. But anyway, that's all. That is the Civivi Drifter 2. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll see you tomorrow with a brand new video. Take care.